His father was brutally executed in front of him, and he had his powers and throne violently taken away. With a brilliant mortal's help, can he reclaim his throne?
Hello and welcome to our channel. So today we'll recap and review a fantasy action movie titled Gods of Egypt. Let's check it out.
I won't fight. I love you, brother, with all my heart.
I love you too, brother.
Life on Earth began in ancient Egypt. The gods chose to live there with humans. Gods tower over humans, have gold instead of blood, and can morph into terrifying creatures. Egypt was split in half between the two brothers. Osiris is the god of life and the king of the Nile lands. Set, his brother, ruled the desert with anger and loneliness. Osiris kept Egypt at peace until he had to crown a new king, Horus, his only beloved son. This will strain their sibling relationship and put Egypt's fate to the test. Bek, an ordinary human with a prodigious intellect, is seen entering a busy intersection. He took a fancy green dress he saw in the store. Then he returned it to Zaya, who was busy getting ready for the coronation of Horus as Egypt's Lord of the Air.
As they plan the coronation, she eagerly puts on the dress Bek gave her after stealing it and proudly shows him how beautiful she looks. This indicates that even if they're not rich, they're content and happy with their life.
Horus's servants woke him up in the castle so he could get ready for the coronation. He stood up and walked over to his pool in the middle of the room, where everyone was either sleeping off their hangovers or too drunk to move. Hathor, the love goddess, arrived as his servants were bathing him. As they talked, he showed her how handsome he was. She gave him an amused glance as she sipped from her wine glass. Before he could ask her to be his queen, his servants arrived to tell him that it was time for his coronation. The middle throne was occupied by Horus, with his mother sitting at his side. People from all over the city had come to the enormous Colosseum to see the new king crowned. Zaya and Bek are in front, just as excited as the rest. One by one, the gods bring their gifts. The crowd cheered enthusiastically, while Osiris was summoned to continue the coronation of Horus. Set interrupts the coronation just as Horus is about to get the crown. He says sorry for being late and gives Horus a hunting horn as a gift. A trial run was recommended and he complied. They had no idea it was a signal for Set's army to march in. People moved back when the soldiers in red uniforms came in and stood in front. Set challenged his brother Osiris to a duel, giving his sibling the spear that had once belonged to their father. Horus tried to intervene, but Osiris simply ignored him. While telling Set how much he loved him as a family, Set slashed his sword into Osiris's body, causing him to bleed gold and die.
Greed is a compelling emotion, and when it completely consumes a person, they transform into a terrifying monster that no one's ever seen before.
Set declared himself as king of Egypt and ordered all subjects to worship him or perish. He warned that anyone who tried to stop him would be destroyed and that everyone would need gold to enter the afterlife. Horus was angry at what he had done because he looked up to him as an uncle. He fights against him, but Set is much more powerful. During the fight, he and Set both changed forms, he into a powerful golden bird with wings, and Set into a black, ugly-looking horse. They keep fighting, destroying everything in their path. Set threw Horus across the Colosseum stage and snatched his eyes, the source of his powers. He was about to kill him, but Hathor stopped him. She called out Set's name to save Horus's life and bowed to him. Set became king. He forced people into labor and took away even the smallest amount of gold they had earned. After a year, Zaya became Urshu's slave. One day, when Urshu went out, she instructed Bek to retrieve Horus's eyes from Set's treasury as she detailed the plan for the mission. Bek successfully breaches Set's vault, taking one of Horus's eyes with him. When he came back, Urshu caught them. Urshu shot an arrow through Zaya's chest as they ran for their lives, ultimately taking her life.
Imagine Bek's pain as he saw Zaya dying in his own hands. That must be really painful. He takes her dead body to Horus, hiding in his father's tomb, and makes a deal to give him the eye in exchange for Horus bringing Zaya back.
Horus summons Anubis, the underworld god, to bring Zaya to the afterlife. Bek was disappointed, but Horus forced him to give him his eye in exchange for helping him get Zaya back, as they still had 7 days before she reached the afterlife. They went to the divine vessel where Horus's grandfather, Ra, the god of light, lives. He politely requested permission to fill his diving water vial, knowing that this would weaken Set.
Ra refuses Horus's request to restore his power so he could defeat Set. Instead, he claimed that he was no longer in control because he had failed to become king, as his father had always wanted. This would provide you with some thoughts now, Horus.
On the other hand, Set had conquered and destroyed all of the gods' kingdoms and harmed his wife, Nephthys, by cutting off her wings. Hathor told him he was too harsh, but Set said it would happen eventually. He asked her to prove her loyalty by taking her to the underworld, but she refused, seeing how cruel Set had become and fled with the bracelet. On the other side of Egypt, Horus and Beck stopped at what used to be the garden that Osiris had built. He told Beck that it was opened to mortals as a burial site. As they talked, the ground began shaking. When Beck turned around, he saw two of Set's minions aboard their horrifying black and white serpents. Beck told Horus to escape, as mortals do. They ducked into the space between the tomb's holes, where Beck instructed him to strike the serpent. Beck emerges and runs, luring the serpents to him, and Horus attacks the black one. The serpent was injured and wriggled in pain. After being attacked by the girl in black, Horus took refuge in a nearby tomb. He was able to avoid her and launch an assault on the white snake. He pounded the girl against the serpent's back, causing the serpent to plunge about 100 feet to its death. At the sound of the collapsing walls, he and Beck sprinted for the tombs. Hathor appeared before them, faced the black serpent, looked it in the eyes, and used her power to command it to kill itself and the girl riding it.
If Hathor hadn't arrived, it's truly a wonder as to what might have happened. One of them might have been killed by the serpent.
The group eventually arrived at the Library of Thoth. As they walked, she discovered that while planning how to get Set's pyramid, Horus had tricked Beck into thinking he could bring Zaya back to life. They found Thoth hiding in his library and asked him to solve the riddle of the Sphinx Guardian. The pyramid's tricky entrance wasn't a problem for Beck, so he and his companions searched for the Sphinx. After making two mistakes, Thoth gets the Sphinx riddle right and they are taken to the heart of the pyramid. Unfortunately, Hathor and Horus fell into a trap just as they were about to approach it. When Set appears, he steals Thoth's brain. Set stopped Beck from pouring the holy water into the crater, and he told Beck that Horus had tricked him. Because of this, he began to have doubts, and Set was able to destroy the liquid. After destroying it, he left. Using the metal blocking the entrance as a shield, Horus protected Hathor and Beck from falling debris. Hathor suspected that Zaya had already begun her journey to the afterlife, contacts Anubis, and offers the bracelet as payment for Zaya's safe passage. Anubis agrees, and so she is taken to the underworld. Beck joins Anubis. Set absorbed Thoth's brain, Osiris's heart, Horus's eye, and Nephthys's wings before going to Ra. Ra revealed to him that he would be taking his place in the divine vessel to protect the world from Apophis. Angered, he stabbed him with his spear. Then, taking the spear with him, he releases Apophis to feast on mortals and the dead. Beck and Anubis appeared as Zaya was about to step on the afterlife scale. Beck told Zaya that she could take the bracelet to enter the afterlife, but she refused because she wanted to be with him. Apophis tried to attack the gate in the afterlife, but Anubis shut it just in time. To defeat Set, Zaya instructed Beck to return to Egypt and work with Horus. He eventually went back to tell Horus that he had figured out how to defeat Set.
They went to the castle to ask for help from Urshu. He secretly leads them into Set's obelisk and assists them in reaching the peak. However, Horus stops them in the middle and jumps out the nearest side window, telling Beck to get to the top.
Beck and Urshu fought over the god they chose to worship as Horus carefully climbed to the side of the building. Urshu told him he could relate to how Beck felt about being singled out by God's favor. He made fun of him, implying that Horus was powerless to resurrect Zaya by saying she was still dead. He moves the torch aside and grabs Beck's feet as the latter tries to get to the blade. Beck kicks him, but he recovers and he tries to hit him with the knife. Beck successfully dodged all of his assaults. They stopped fighting when the platform they were on reached the top. Urshu is pushed to his death as Beck uses the rope to escape. Horus crept up on Set, but he sensed him and attacked with Ra's spear. They fight each other with spears. Horus was able to withstand every attack from Set. They continued to fight, but Horus could not avoid Set's attacks, so Set threw him off the platform. Set punched his chest with the spear's end and said he was no match. Horus answers, implying that he is just a trap. Beck successfully hits and misses the spear about to lodge in Horus's body. This made Set angry, so he transformed into a beast and attacked Beck, beating him against the wall. Beck quickly grabs the knife in his side and takes the other eye of Horus from his head. Set throws him over to the other side. Beck falls off the obelisk as he throws Horus's other eye at him. Horus was now torn between saving Beck or getting his eye, but he chooses to save Beck. He grabs his hand and his other hand grasps the edge of the building. As Set created flowing lava going in Horus's direction, Horus asked forgiveness of Beck as he let go of the brick wall he was holding onto. He regains his power to transform as they fall and flies Beck to safety. He realized his mission was to protect his people. Using the power he had just gotten back, he made Set go after him. Multiple times, Set aims fire at him, but he successfully dodges it toward the obelisk. He flies inside, avoiding the attacks and destroying the structure. He attacks Set from the side, drags him, and pushes him hard. As Set reached the bottom, the building collapsed. When Horus came up to him, he was on all fours and bleeding golden blood.
He told Horus that he had once spared him, but Horus said he wouldn't make the same mistake again and kills him with the spear. Good choice, Horus. He might have gotten revenge if he was spared.
Horus went to help Ra and gave him the spear. This gave Ra the power to defeat Apophis and reopen the door to the afterlife. A child returned Horus's other eye as he returned to where he left Bek. He knew that Bek had died because of the wound he got fighting Set, so he took him to his father's tomb and put him next to Zea. Ra offered to grant Horus's wish, so he asked him to resurrect the two. Ra restores the two and the other gods back to life. Horus was made king, and he said that good deeds, kindness, and generosity were the only ways to get into the afterlife. Bek was eventually appointed chief advisor and given Hathor's bracelet. Horus leaves Egypt in his capable hands while he is gone. He then leaves to rescue Hathor from the underworld.
The movie focuses on what a man is willing to do for love, how betrayal can destroy someone's trust, and how destructive people can be when greed overpowers them. But in the end, good deeds are rewarded and love conquers all. We recommend this movie to those who love action, fantasy, and drama. The ending will surely leave you wanting a sequel. Please subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to be notified when we upload. Also, let us know in the comments down below what movies you want us to recap next.